All right, let's get ourselves started here. We are looking at lesson number 4, which is adding and subtracting fractions. Now, the key things that we have to keep in mind is when adding and subtracting fractions, you need a common denominator. Now remember, your denominator, okay, and a common denominator meaning the same, needs to be the same. So when we look at question number 1, we see we have both 9s in the denominator. So we do have a common denominator. Yay! The reason why we like that so much is when we add fractions, once we have a common denominator, we keep the denominator and we simply add straight across. So your answer is 7/9. That's it. Nothing more. So again, when we have a common denominator, it moves along very crisp and clean. So we look at question number 2, and again, woohoo, we've got a common denominator. So the denominator is going to stay the same, and 7 minus 3 gives me 4. I've got 4/8. Now, we're there, but we're not quite there because this does end up simplifying. So it's just a traditional fraction. What's the number that fits into 4 and fits into 8? Well, we can divide it by 4. 4 fits into both of them. So 4 divided by 4 is 1. 8 divided by 4 is, 2. So it is a half. So there's your official answer for question number 2. Question number 3, we don't have a common denominator. Okay, so we got to do a little bit of work here first to get our common denominators. So a lot of times you are used to the drawing with the visual, but we want to get away from that now. We want to go to what we call that algorithm method. So what we're looking for is what's a number that 4 and 3 can both fit into. And they can both fit into the number 12. Now, where did I come up with that 12 from? Well, I'm using my math facts here, people, so we're just kind of thinking about numbers and go into it. Traditionally, I'll start with the larger number and see if the smaller number will fit into it. And it doesn't, so I'll check 8 then, no, and I'll check the next one's 12, yes, it does go into it. So I'm just using my multiplication facts. So the big thing here is once you get a common denominator, well, your denominators have changed. So if your denominator has changed, guess what else needs to change? Yes, that's right. Your numerator is going to need to change. So the question here is if the old one was 4 and the new one is 12, 4 times what is 12? Yeah, 4 times 3 gives us 12. So we'll take the top number, which is your numerator, and we'll also multiply by the 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. There's our new fraction. We don't want to simplify this because when we simplify that, guess what's going to happen? We're going to get right back to where we started from. So let's go to the other side there. We had a 3 over here. 3 times what is 12? Well, 3 times 4 is 12. So now I know what to multiply. So 2 times 4 is 8. Now the problem looks a lot like question number 1. We're with my common denominators. So we leave the denominator alone. We add across. 9 plus 8 does give me 17. I do have an improper fraction here. The numerator, is larger on the top, so I do need to simplify it. I know, simplifying. All right. So how many groups of 12 can I take out of 17? I can take 1 out. I'm going to have 5 pieces that are left over. And I was trying to put them in groups of 12. So 1 and 5, 12. So there's your official answer. Let's try question number 4. All right. Common denominator. Think about it, think about it, think about it. If you ever kind of get stuck, simply multiply the two denominators together. So 8 times 3 is 24. In this case, that is my least common denominator. It's not always going to work, like in the next problem, hint, hint. All right, but now let's go to it. So what do we multiply 8 by to get to 24? Well, we multiply it by 3. So that's what we multiply the numerator by. So 7 times 3 is 21. And over here, 3 times what is 24? Well, 3 times 8 is 24. So 2 times 8, hello, 16. Now I can go about the process, and I can go ahead and subtract. 21 minus 16 is? Yes, hello 5. And then remember we keep the denominator the same, so it is simply 5/24. Ooh, that didn't come out too well. So the big thing to keep in mind here is the fact that you need a common denominator, and then you need to get your new numerators or your new numerators and then your new denominators to go. Oh boy, let's rewind. Once you get your new denominators, you will need to get your new numerators as well. So let's try 5. I need common denominators here. Now, I could multiply 6 times 4 together and get 24. The problem with that is it's going to mean more simplifying for me. So can you think of a smaller number that 6 and 4 can both fit into? Did you say 12? Yeah, they both fit into 12. 6 times 2 is 12, so 5 times 2, there's my 10. And if you don't want to write the number off to the side, that's okay. If you don't want to draw the line in, that's okay too. 4 times 3 is 12, so 3 times 3, that's your 9. Again, you want to make sure you're understanding where the information is coming from, so if you need to fill it in, feel free to. Common denominator, so let's go and subtract. 10 twelfths minus 9 twelfths should give you 1 12th. Let's do the last one here. All right. Again, common denominators are necessary, and it is an 8. Now, sometimes your common denominator is the number that's there. And let's think about it. Does 2 fit into 8? Yeah, 4 times. Does 8 fit into 8? Yeah, 1 time. So we can use that. All right. So 2 times 4 is 8. So now we multiply the top number by the 4. It didn't change. So the top number is not going to change. And the reason why is because you multiply by a 1. 3 times 1 is still 3. So let's add. Should get 7/8 there. All right. Main thing to keep in mind here is, like we said, common denominators in order to add or subtract. And if you have to get a common denominator, that means you're going to have to get a new numerator as well. We'll see you tomorrow.